Okay, welcome to the next build in the series on this channel, and we're going to be doing the R.M.S Titanic in 1/700 scale by Revell. And before I start any new projects, I like to have a fresh, clean working surface on both tables, and also in the spray booth, I like to use self-adhesive carpet protector on both the turntable and the base of the spray booth, which helps keep it clean. And at the end of the project, I can just rip that out and replace it. And I also replace all the blades on my knives. So I start with the nice fresh blade. And I like to know out all the parts of the model I'm going to be working on, just to help the process go ahead. And I also make a copy of the instructions. This is so I can use the copy, I can write on it, I can cross things out, I can highlight things. So I can put the original instructions to one side, and I also like to have all the paints ready and set out. And you'll usually find a list of the required paints in the instruction manual. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing you're going to need to do is remove the parts from the sprue, clean them up, and get them ready for putting together. You can work through the instructions step by step, but I find it's best to look ahead and see what steps are required. And as you can see, you've got two pieces that fit on the hull on stage 4. So we're going to do that straight away. That way, when it comes to painting and priming, they'll be in place. And we might also fit the anchors for the same reason. So let's go ahead first and get the two parts of the hull and the two bulkheads. And also the two pieces of the hull. Now the reason you want to do multiple pieces before painting is to get everything to match and look right, but also it just makes it easier when you've primed it to see any flaws or anything that needs adjustment before you finally go ahead with the final paint. And there's various ways of gluing this in place. You've got Tamiya cement, which is quite a thick construction glue. You have the extra thin Tamiya clear fix, which is for transparent parts, and liquid poly. The thing with these glues is they will make a weld contact with the plastic, so they'll melt the plastic pieces that are meeting, and this produces a very strong connection, but it can also cause a lot of damage to the pieces and the actual model. So we're going to use super glue. And the best way of doing these small parts. As you can see, the connecting hole is right the way through, so we can place our piece in there. We can get our super glue, and we can just put a few spots along there. And the good thing with super glue, if I can get the lid off, that's it, is you can use a kicker. Just give it a quick spray, and that will instantly cause the super glue to set. And you can see it's already set because we've glued it on the inside. There's no residue at all on the outside, and we've got a very neat join. So we'll go ahead and we'll do the same on the other side. One of the main difficulties with this piece here is you've got a very small pin connector here where the propellers fit, and if that gets damaged, it will have a real hard time fitting the propellers. So once again, on the inside, we'll take our super glue and just a couple of spots of super glue, like so. Quick spray with the kicker. And again, very clean, neat fitting piece. The kicker is very cold, so you can see what's done to my nail. So you just want to keep that in mind. Good thing about super glue is you can leave the pots open, because in normal circumstances it won't set in the air alone, but you just want to tap it down so that you've got nothing in the nozzle, then you're ready to go next time. Okay, so next on the agenda is to put the two pieces of the hull together and place the bulkheads in position. So first thing you want to do is just check that you've got a good fitting, which we do have. It can be very hard to get them together. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a bit of tape. Just a bit of masking tape will do. Get yourself a couple of pieces. And just place the hull together. So just want to put some tape on the front and back at the top, and front and back and across the bottom, just to hold it in place. like so. Just check the placement. And if you look inside, here and here, bring this across, you can see where the two bulkheads go. As you can see, one bulkhead has notches, the other doesn't. The one without goes at the back. So we just want to place that in. You always want to try and do a dry fitting where possible. Because it's a lot easier to deal with flaws and problems before everything's glued. So you just place that in its position. And you want to be checking that everything's fitting smooth. And do the same for the front. You want everything to be quite snug and tight, even if it means it's a bit more difficult to get the pieces into place. Once you're happy everything's in place, just want to take a look at the seam at the bottom, push it together, and there's no step. It's quite neat. We're not going to use super glue for this one. We're going to use the extra thin, because if you put it on the inside, capillary action will take it into the seam itself and should give you a good bond. So we'll start here, and you can be quite liberal with the glue, and you want to just do it in stages, working out from the middle, just making sure your alignment's correct, just making sure that the seams stay together, and just hold it for a few minutes. Once you're happy, just add a little bit more glue. It might be easier to reach if you can just use a spare brush. You can dip it straight in the pot, then you can just paint it onto the seam like this, and you just want to give a little bit of extra support to the bulkhead like so. The same at the back, and again you can be quite liberal with the amount of glue that you're using. And if we turn that over quickly, you can see there's no oozing. Got a nice tight join, no ridges, no steps. It's nice and neat. And once you're happy with that, you move down towards the front. Again, just painting the seam. And at the very front, hold the pieces together, paint in some glue, and just hold it until you're sure that the glue's taken. Doesn't take long to dry, so just a couple of minutes holding it. And again, nice liberal coating of glue. And you can finish off the process at the back. However, if we look at the rear, you can see this little slot here. That's for the rudder. We want to avoid getting any glue in there because we'll be fitting the rudder at a later date. So what we want to do is just glue the top here and just hold that till the glue takes. And while the glue's taking, again, just gives the bulkheads a bit more rigidity by gluing them in place. The middle seam. And just coming up here, but not quite all the way up, just enough to stick the two parts of the hull together to avoid glue going into that much needed slot. Just a liberal sprinkling of glue, and leave that to dry. If you're going to use paintbrushes with glue, all you need is a pot with a bit of isopropyl alcohol in. As long as you do it straight away, you can clean brushes off. Get a bit of kitchen paper, and you can see clean and usable again. Just put your pot of alcohol somewhere nearby. It does need to be a sealed container, otherwise the alcohol will just evaporate. And by the time you've done that, the hull is good to go. Still got a little bit of a gap here, but we'll deal with that later when we put the rudder on. So at this point you can now remove the tape. And if you want, you can add some more glue, but I think we've done plenty in there. So now the hull is ready for priming. So let's head to the paint booth. So we have some Vallejo primer all ready to go. And when you're painting it with an airbrush, you want to have a respirator. So that's going to make it difficult to talk. So I'm just going to go ahead and prime the hull, and I'll come back when it's done. One thing I should mention is most primers are ready to go with airbrushes, and this Vallejo one is no exception to that rule. So we can just fill the airbrush and get straight onto it. Okay, so that's good coat of primer. Not too heavy, not too dark, just enough to cover the model. And it's self-leveling, so we can now just leave that to dry, clean our airbrush out. And that's where we're going to leave this episode. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.